In 1980, George Lucas was able to help finance the sequel to what was at the time the most successful film ever. With money from his own pocket, bank loans, and profits unspent, this alternative method of production made Empire Strikes Back itself an outlier in the film industry. It can also be considered an outlier when compared to the other two Star Wars films of the original trilogy. Episodes 4 and 6 are themselves similar in terms of structure and setting. Both have segments on Tatooine, with the heroes ultimately aiming to destroy a Death Star orbiting close to a foresty moon or planet. In Empire, however, neither of these elements are present. We instead explore the snowiest, highest, and swampiest places imaginable. This diversity of locations produces a wonderful color palette for each one, making them astoundingly unique. Episode 5 also explores how much of the galaxy has been infected by the Empire, depicting the extent of how cruel and punishing they can be. The previous film's focus on the war effort was fairly minimal until Leia took them all to Yavin 4, whereas in Empire, the war effort is forced right upon us in the opening scenes. Another way this is shown is despite the rebellion's victory at the end of A New Hope, the rebels find themselves on what can only be described as less than ideal circumstances on Hoth. The Battle of Hoth itself is quite the cinematic thrill ride. There are some incredible visual effects, super imaginative model designs, and even the seemingly outdated stop-motion movements of the AT-ATs show they are a difficult force to be reckoned with. Even though the rebels know how to destroy the AT-ATs, they are clearly outshined by the sheer militaristic power the Empire has at their back. This power is also seen in those incredible shots of the Star Destroyers, accompanied by several ships flying to and fro, once again depicting interplanetary conflict on an immense scale. After escaping from Hoth, Luke travels to Dagobah in search of Yoda, the great Jedi Master. This is a great part of the film because we, like Luke, learn what it truly means to be a Jedi and how the Force is all around us. Children playing, having fun. Wait, sorry, I'm not sure what came over me there. But yes, if you ever feel like converting over to Jediism, you can simply watch all of Luke's training scenes in this film. Luke is also taught amongst snakes and reptiles, all camouflaged amongst the plants and wood. These creatures have vast amounts of patience, a skill Luke too will learn from. The snakes in this section also give it a slight biblical tone, warning him not to fall to temptation. This is shown more obviously when Luke decapitates an imaginary Darth Vader, only for his own to appear in the helmet. Seeking vengeance for the death of Obi-Wan and the treatment of his friends will only lead Luke down a destructive path like his father did. We see this temptation play out when the pair have the most emotionally charged lightsaber duel of the original trilogy. Yoda had warned Luke earlier that a Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack, and yet Luke is the one who pulls out his lightsaber first, as well as lunging on the offense during the initial moments of the duel. Vader, being fully trained as a Jedi many years ago, is aware of this fault Luke possesses, echoing Yoda's sentiments that Luke is not a Jedi yet. After wearing Luke down, it is Vader who becomes offensive, but not for victory, no. Instead to show off his power.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
What I also find remarkable about Empire Strikes Back are its characters. The characters established in A New Hope advance and evolve throughout the course of the film. As previously discussed, Luke begins to understand the ways of the Force but still possesses traits incompatible with becoming a devout Jedi. This ultimately leads to his downfall and the need for a third film. Han Solo retains his roguish behaviour whilst trying to become more civil by firstly attempting to ignite a relationship with Leia and secondly visiting his old friend Lando. Unfortunately, he gets frozen in carbonite though, because that man did not pay his debts. Leia struggles to balance being the leader of the rebellion and deciding which bloke she's more interested in. Sadly, the nice one flew off into space to become a monk, so instead she decided to jump on board his best mate's spaceship. Of course, Han is quite the last straw choice compared to Lando Calrissian, who has charm, elegance and money and doesn't live in his spaceship that can't quite jump to hyperspace. To Leia's absolute shock and appall, however, Lando couldn't quite get the hyperdrive fixed in the end either. Even funnier is that both Lando and Han both say,
It's not my fault. It's not my fault!
in childish ways, really sealing the deal that Leia really doesn't seem to have much luck with men. C-3PO shines brightest in this film than any of the others. We see him in his most desperate and irritating. As a result of him being separated from R2-D2 early in the film, he is clearly out of his comfort zone for the majority of it. Had the team not ignored him, he could have saved them from being persecuted by the Empire. Having so many bold and courageous characters means that having a bumbling robot made for
etiquette, not destruction,
contrasts well with the group dynamic. quick. R2 even has a few surprising upgrades throughout the film too. He can pass wind, provide an extendable camera, and even has a Gronch grabber at his disposal. Vader is also at his peak in this film compared to the others, and proves to be more ruthless as he does not answer to anybody except for the Emperor. Now he is no longer on Tarkin's leash, he is able to kill members of his own crew, whilst having an obsession with catching the Millennium Falcon, enraged by every mistake his officers make. He is also at his most powerful during the Lando betrayal, proving he's invincible to laser bolts whilst standing menacingly behind a white, well-laid table. A very pleasant image, with the exception of him, who sticks out so prominently the effect of the Lando betrayal is doubled. What is so detrimental to the success of Empire, however, is how it strikes a moderate balance between being a sequel to New Hope and a superb precursor to Return. We see characters saying other characters' memorable catchphrases from the previous film whilst teasing us about the next, such as when Yoda says,
"There is another."
Because until this point we assumed Luke was the only hope for bringing down the Empire. Likewise, at the end of the film, despite how sharply things spiraled into chaos, plans are already being set into motion for the next story. The end of Empire doesn't feel like the end, but the characters have changed and become stronger as a result of their ordeal, leaving us with a very good feeling as the film comes to a close. Thanks for watching. If you fancy supporting the channel, check out my Patreon page or go to the PayPal link in the description if you fancy buying me a coffee. Ta-ta!